Alright everyone, I want to thank you all so much for watching this video here along US-95 in Idaho as we pass through Fruitland, Payette, and Weiser, Idaho. So this video is basically a continuation of the previous video where we basically pass through the remaining cities here on the west side of the Snake River Plain or Greater Treasure Valley region here in Idaho. And unlike the previous video, these cities up here in the northern part of the Greater Snake River Plain in Idaho, once you get past the I-84 junction there, have a lot larger of a population than the cities that we passed through in the previous video. In fact, all of the combined cities and towns that we passed through in this video have a combined population of roughly 25 to 30,000 people. Of course, the largest city in this general area is Ontario, Oregon, which of course US-95 kind of bypasses here on the Idaho side of the Snake River, but you can very easily access Ontario, Oregon from US Route 30 there in Fruitland, Idaho, as you just go across the Snake River and then you're right there in Ontario, Oregon. You can also pass through the city along the main Interstate 84 freeway as well. And one thing you probably noticed too about this video too, especially when we pass through the cities of Payette and Weiser, is that US-95 pretty much bypasses the downtown area of those cities and makes the cities look a lot smaller than they actually are, because you only probably spend about 2 minutes in each city, if that, especially driving through them along US-95. And one thing I will say too is that US-95 does have a few spur routes in this area of Idaho that actually goes into the downtown core of these cities. I guess you can also call it like a business loop 95 type of deal too, where it just basically goes through the downtown area of these cities. And that's actually the old alignment of US-95. Unfortunately, while doing the research for this video, I couldn't find an exact date of when US-95 was kind of aligned on these bypasses of these cities, but just know that the old business spurs of US Route 95 do go into these downtown cores of these cities where US-95 used to go to. But of course, when doing this video, I just wanted to stay on the main line US-95 just so I can clinch all of US-95, which was basically the goal of this trip, was to drive US-95 all the way up to the Canadian border. And right after this video, where the video ended there in Weiser, Idaho, and as you start heading north, you basically start getting a lot better scenery here. Unfortunately, the scenery here is just more of the same of the last video, where we're just basically passing through the agricultural areas that the Snake River Plain and Treasure Valley are known for. And as I said in the last video, this area very much reminds me of my home here in the Central Valley of California, which is very similar geographically, just surrounded by all these various farmland areas and everything like that. So it just made me feel like I was home when I was passing through this area of Idaho right here. But rest assured, once we start heading north here along US-95 and start leaving the Snake River Plain and start heading up into the Idaho Panhandle region, the scenery is going to get a lot better rather quickly. Alright everyone, I just want to give a shout out to all my social media accounts that you see on the screen here, because I really am trying to grow my social media accounts beyond just here on YouTube. I would really appreciate it if you guys would check out my Instagram. I'm really trying to grow that social media platform, so I would really appreciate it if you guys would follow me on there. My username is just InterstateKyle. What's really cool about my Instagram is if I'm on a road trip, I will post on my story of where I am and what I'm doing, so it's just a really cool way for you guys to follow along with me in real time to see what I'm doing and what I'm up to. I know my videos on here can get pretty dated very quickly, so if you guys want to see what I'm doing in real time, I highly recommend checking out my Instagram, and I would really appreciate your support over there. You guys can also check out my Facebook group and my Twitter/X account. The links to all those are down in the description. Another thing I want to give a shout out to is my Patreon, which is a way for you guys to support me beyond YouTube here. If you guys want to join my Patreon, you guys can get special perks for joining, like watching all of my videos early before they are released here on YouTube. And all the money I make on there goes right back into this YouTube channel to keep producing more of these types of videos in the future. The link to my Patreon is also down in the description, so if you really want to check it out, I would really appreciate your extra support over there as well. And another thing that is set up on my channel is Super Thanks, which is located to the right of where you would normally like one of my videos. What that basically is just a way for you guys to tip me out for each video going forward if you feel that I've earned it, of course. And then all the money on there also goes right back to this channel to keep producing more of these types of videos in the future. And with all that said, folks, I really hope you all enjoyed watching this video here along US-95 as we drove through Fruitland, Payette, and Weiser, Idaho. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you all have an amazing day, and take care, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to the next adventure, and we will see you next time.